5-7 win over TCU last night. More on that in a moment. My man Matt Hayes, you hear him every day on XL Primetime. You read him at Saturday Down South. He'll join us inside of 20 minutes to review the Dogs and kind of look ahead to the offseason to come in the world of college football. Coming up in about 40 minutes or so, John Shipley of Jaguar Report, as we will dive headfirst into the Jaguars and the Chargers. Mike Williams, wide receiver, Los Angeles, did not practice report today. Everybody else for the Chargers did. Mike Williams did not. Remember, he did have a back issue on Sunday in Denver, so we will certainly monitor that as the week goes on. Interesting for Jacksonville, 2 did not practices on the injury report. Long snapper Ross Matisic, but kicker Riley Patterson made the list as well. That's concerning, obviously, so we'll monitor that as the week goes on. But John Shipley of Jaguar Report coming up in about 40 minutes. In the 11 o'clock hour, we will go to Los Angeles. We will go to Los Angeles actually probably every night the remainder of the week. We will kick it off tonight. We'll get the Chargers side of things beginning tonight with Fernando Ramirez. Fernando's covered the Chargers for a while, the Sporting Tribune out there in the state of California, as we begin looking at the Los Angeles Chargers. And at the bottom of the 11 o'clock hour, my man Justin Barney of Channel 4, a little high school coaching carousel talk here, as a lot of high school football coaches are coming and going locally. But, of course, we'll also get into the Jaguars with Justin Barney of Channel 4. So we're loaded, as we will be every night this week here on Hacker After Dark. And every night we kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Last night, about 24 hours ago from right now, actually, was a great night for the University of Georgia and was a terrible night for the sport of college football. Let me explain. Obviously, the University of Georgia, it was a great night. Back-to-back national championships, now 29-1 over a 2-year stretch. Absolutely the most dominating performance in maybe the history of national title games in the sport of college football. To think at one point in that game last night, it was 10-7. It was 10-7. Final score was 65-7. And by the way, if Georgia would have kept their starters in, they might have scored 100. It was, I said on Twitter, it was Bowles versus DuPont Middle School. That's what it looked like out there. And that's the Super Bowl, excuse me, that's the Super Bowl of college football. That is the national championship game. We'll get into that in a moment. But Kirby Smart, is he the next Nick Saban? Has he replaced Nick Saban as the greatest coach currently in college football? I think there's an argument for that. I think there's a conversation for that. Georgia is, they're just on top of the college football world. And I thought it was interesting last night. I don't know if you guys saw Kirby Smart doing this. He pulled the Michael Jordan fingers, where he held up the one finger and then the two fingers, and then he held up 3 fingers. And that kind of caught me aback, so I did a little look-see at Georgia's schedule next year. And quite frankly, it's a joke. The Georgia Bulldogs schedule next year is a joke. They should be flat out ashamed of themselves. But it won't matter. They're going to win every game by 50 in the conference anyway. Georgia begins on Saturday, September 2nd, taking on Tennessee Martin. Denmark, can I get a mascot for Tennessee Martin?
No idea.
They are the Fighting Skyhawks.
Would have never guessed that.
The next Saturday, September 9th, Georgia plays host to Ball State. So the two-time defending national champions open up with Tennessee Martin and Ball State.
They are the Cardinals, I believe.
They are, and I think they're the alma mater of David Letterman. That's what I got for you for Ball State. Saturday, September 16th, South Carolina comes to Athens. Then Georgia's going to have a real battle on their hands Saturday, September 23rd, when the Blazers of UAB come in. So your first 4 games for the Dogs: Tennessee Martin, Ball State, South Carolina, and UAB. Then you're at Auburn, home to Kentucky, at Vanderbilt, a bye week, the cocktail party here, home to Missouri, home to Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Georgia Tech. They are going to win every game by 20 points next year. Possibly with the exception of at Tennessee, although they're losing a lot of folks, including their quarterback. So, Georgia will be the overwhelming favorite again going into next year to repeat again as national champions. But for the here and now, it was a great night for Georgia. Stetson Bennett has taken his spot in college football history. He's officially 29-3 as a starting quarterback, but over the last 2 years, he's 29-1 with 2 national championships. And he was nothing short of sensational last night. That's the good side of last night. There was an ugly side. There was a bad side. And to me, that's the sport of college football. There is a problem in the world of college football. And I really don't know what can be done to correct it. Your final game of the year, your national championship game, the Super Bowl of college football, which is what the national championship game is supposed to be, it can't be 65-7. It just can't be. There's got to be more parity than that. The semifinal games were good. But I look at Georgia and you know, I look at the sport of college football, and here we are on the 10th day of January in 2023. We are 7.5 months away from games that mean anything in the regular season in college football for next year. And I feel very confident in telling you Georgia will be in the playoff. I feel very confident in telling you Ohio State will be in the playoff. I feel very confident in telling you Alabama will either be in the playoff or just on the outskirts, depending on what Jim Harbaugh does at Michigan. There's 130 Division I college football teams. There are 65 Power 5 teams in the world of college football. There is no parity at all. None. Now, you could argue that there really never has been, right? I mean, if you go back to if you want to start 1990 forward, Florida had a run, Nebraska had a run, Florida State had a run, Miami had a run. Then you get into Alabama's dominance. There's a little sprinkling of Florida and LSU in there. Auburn, a little bit. Back to Florida State. Back to Alabama. Oregon had a little stretch there where they were in the playoff and a national championship game. Georgia then showed up to the party. Every once in a while, you'll have a Michigan State or a Notre Dame that's just good enough to get in the playoff and then gets crushed. Oklahoma has been in the playoff, fairly consistent. USC. But of teams that can win the college football national championship, there's 130 options, 65 in the Power 5. What are there realistically, 6 or 7? that can win the national title in 2023. Isn't that a problem? Isn't that something that we need to see about working on? And the problem is you're getting farther away from a solution now with NIL. You're getting farther away. Guess who's got the most money to spend? The teams that have been the best. So in the Southeastern Conference is a prime example, right? I mean, go out west. You look at Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, those three for sure. I might even lump Auburn in there. Do they ever have a shot of winning the West? At least for the next, foreseeable future? I don't know. I tend to doubt it. I mean, Ole Miss will give you an 11-2 every once in a while, a 10-3. But is Ole Miss one year going to find a way to knock off Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, and Auburn in the same year? You look in the East. Florida fans, I hate to tell you this. Did you watch that last night? It is unbelievable how much further ahead Georgia is than you. It's not even close. Not even close. Who in the East is going to catch Georgia? Tennessee? This was Tennessee's best team this year that they probably had since their national title team in 98. This was the best Tennessee team they've had in a quarter century. And they did not belong on the field with Georgia when they played them in Athens. Georgia won that game going away. It's just going to be tough. Now you add NIL to it. Teams like Georgia just simply have more money, better resources. You could say the same thing about Oklahoma in the Big 12, Texas. Now, when they come to the SEC, that'll be a little interesting, but the lack of parity has always been there in the world of college football. But, man, I've never noticed it more prevalent in the last year or two. Who is going to beat Georgia next year? The only possible team that could beat Georgia on this schedule that I just laid out for you, can Auburn beat them on the Plains? I doubt it. Hugh Freeze first year, I doubt it. Is Florida going to beat them here? No. Is Tennessee going to beat them in Neyland? That might be the best shot for Georgia to lose a regular season game. But again, I love the sport of college football. I am a college football diehard. But when you're looking at a 12-game schedule for the Dogs, and they're likely to be a 20-point favorite in every game next year, with the possible exception of at Auburn and at Tennessee, that is a problem. And the issue is there's not a good solution. I mean, Georgia's doing everything within the rules of college football. And they haven't even really used the NIL to their advantage yet. Not like A&M and Alabama and Miami and those teams have. Again, I'm not going to say college football is broken. But what fun is it if you're a fan of 57 of the 65 Power 5 teams? You don't have a prayer of winning the national championship. This was the best season in the history of TCU football. Winning the Big 12, beating Michigan, a Heisman Trophy finalist at quarterback, a top 20 wide receiver, and they lost by 58. Again, great night for Georgia. Terrible night for the world of college football. One other thought, again, Matt Hayes coming up. You read him on Saturday Down South. You hear him on XL Primetime. He's got a lot of thoughts on this. Gator fans, are you freaking out about Jaden Rashada? The 5-star quarterback from California who has signed his letter of intent was supposed to enroll at the University of Florida this week, has not yet. has gone dark. Nobody's heard from him. He's putting, well, I shouldn't say nobody's heard from him. He's putting kind of cryptic messages on his social media. Gator fans are freaking out. And I got to tell you something. If Jaden Rashada does not show up at the University of Florida and is not a Florida Gator in 2023, this offseason has been a disaster. You don't have a quarterback. I don't know how good Rashada is going to be. I have no idea. But the damage that would do to the image of Billy Napier and the Gators is going to be hard to repair. There's some rumors out there that Rashada will enroll at the end of the week. There's some rumors out there that it could be a hiccup with the NIL. Again, the NIL. It could be something minor. It could be something major. But what we know right now is that Rashada is yet to enroll, and he was supposed to. And if the University of Florida, after losing Anthony Richardson, goes into next year with Graham Mertz, Jack Miller, and Max Brown as your only 3 scholarship quarterbacks, that is a catastrophe of epic football proportions. So that is certainly something, Gator fans, to keep your eye on moving forward, the status of Jaden Rashada. If he enrolls, it's all for naught. There's no need to worry about it. But the more time that goes on, the more I might be concerned if I was a Gator fan. Denmark, Tuesday nights here on Hacker After Dark, our late show. We're givers, man. We like to help the people out, send them places, give them rewards, if you will, for staying up late with us. We're here for the blue-collar men and women of Northeast Florida. The graveyard shift, we're here for you. All you fellas out at the airport, making it happen. I know you're listening right now. I talk to you every time I go out there. We're here for you. Denmark, what do we have tonight for the late night crowd?
We got a pair of tickets to Fleetwood Mac Tribute live at Thrasher Horn Center Thursday, January 19th. Call me at 904-641-1010.
Thursday, January 19th. If you like Fleetwood Mac, this will be a cool concert to go to. Caller 4 right now, 641-1010, and we will hook you up with those tickets. The Thrasher Horn Center, is that where it is?
That's correct.
I like that. All right, very good. Call Dylan Denmark, 641-1010. Coming up next, Matt Hayes, Saturday Down South, and of course right here on XL Primetime. Is college football broken? Is anybody ever going to beat Georgia? Is Kirby Smart ever going to get burnt out? All interesting questions. We'll address them all next on Hacker After Dark.
It's a great way to make Monday a fun day.
You can't be serious.
Post-game Monday.
What are we waiting on? Let's go do this then.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff. On 1010XL.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Did you know every day over 3,000 kids come through Boys and Girls Club doors across our area? 94% graduate from high school. I'm Paul Price, Chairman of Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida. As we kick off the new year, we ask your help to create great futures for kids that need us most. Our clubs provide a safe place for our young people to belong, with quality programs and a positive environment. Visit Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida at bgcnf.org to learn how you can help create great futures.
Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Owen. I'm a cigarette.
Do you like being a cigarette?
No, I don't. Not really into killing thousands of people. Sorry, no filter.
Right.
What's your sign?
Pisces?
I'm a Cancer. Cigarette joke. But seriously, I do cause cancer. And heart disease. And strokes. I could go on forever. Unlike the people who smoke me.
The average smoker lives 10 years less than non-smokers. Quit today. Find out how at tobaccofreeflorida.com.
Every day you hear interesting and insightful conversations from national names on the Farah and Farah phone line.
I insist on complete honesty. If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah on 1010XL.
This is Coach Ellen Darley of Darley's Plumbing with a quick tip about the rules of hockey. Let me explain what icing is. And I don't mean the yummy kind you put on a cake. In hockey, icing occurs when one team just shoots the puck all the way down to the other side of the rink untouched. This is usually a delay tactic and slows the game, resulting in a penalty. If you're being penalized by bothersome plumbing issues, call us at Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts. We're online at darleysplumbing.com. License number CFC 056702.
Years ago, when Harold & Harold was growing, we had a decision to make whether we were going to grow into the state or even beyond. And we decided that we were going to stay here in this community in Northeast Florida, that it's staying here and not looking at where's the next place that we can go or how can we get bigger, because bigger is not necessarily better. This is our home, this is where our families are, this is where our friends are, and this is where we're going to stay. Offices, Jacksonville.
I want my Woody's barbecue.
All the chicken you can eat in just $12.49? Yes, it's true. This isn't fake news. Oh no. Backed by overwhelming demand, Woody's Barbecue presents their all-you-can-eat Chicken Sunday Special with all the trimmings for just $12.49 every Sunday at your nearby Woody's.
This is Woody Mills inviting you to Woody's Barbecue today. Come see us.
At Woody's Barbecue, it's what we do. Let's eat.
Instant Keys has a new location off Edgewood and 12th Street. Same honest people, same professional locksmith service for lost, stolen, or broken keys. And what about today's high-tech automotive keys? Instant Keys can service nearly every foreign and domestic vehicle, including most luxury models. At Instant Keys, you get dealership-level service at a fraction of the time and cost. Stop by the new location, Edgewood and 12th Street, or call 722-1111. Instant Keys.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Hey, Hickett here. The Borland Groover Foundation proudly presents the annual March to Get Screened 5K race and 1 mile fun run Sunday, March 26th. The race starts at 8 a.m. under the Fuller Warren Bridge. The mission? To raise awareness and prevent colorectal cancer. All proceeds benefit the Borland Groover Foundation, a nonprofit organization devoted to helping the community and saving lives. Visit marchtogetscreened.com for more.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The college football season officially wrapped up on Monday night. And oh my goodness, the Georgia Bulldogs left absolutely no doubt 65-7 over TCU. Let's talk about it with Matt Hayes. You hear him on XL Primetime. You also read him at SaturdayDownSouth.com. Matt, how we doing, man?
I mean, I don't even know what to say, to be honest. A national championship game, and you lose by 58? By 58?
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you right now, honestly, after the first drive, the very first drive, I was like, this thing's over. And I was the guy who all week was saying, I'll take TCU in the points. And then, like, the last 2 days on primetime, I kept telling the guys there, wait, can I get that pick back? I'm not feeling good about it. Then I started going on social media saying I'm not feeling good about my TCU in the points pick. I knew Georgia would win, but I thought TCU could play it close. And then, Pack, after that first drive, I thought there's no chance in this game. They got no chance. After each team had the ball once, I knew they had no chance.
Well, and to think it was 10-7 at one point, and then Georgia scores 55 unanswered. All right, here's the way I'm looking at this. I want to get your thoughts, the positive and the negative. The positive is the Georgia Bulldogs and Kirby Smart. Now 29-1, Stetson Bennett, now a 2-time national champion winning quarterback. I mean, how can you summarize what Georgia has done here in the last 2 years?
It's remarkable. It's remarkable because I think more than anything, Hack, we are in an age of, of free player movement and NIL, which means there are chances for players to leave and go find not only better monetary deals, but better situations where they can play, where they can, get away from a situation where they're not the first string. And these are talented guys. Like Nick won all those national championships at Alabama for the most part, really in general, without free player movement and without the idea of NIL. So it was the ability to stack and pack 4 and 5-star guys on the roster and convince them to wait was a lot easier than it is now. Kirby lost, we always talk about 15 players that they lost to the NFL draft, which was a record since the draft went to 7 rounds in the 90s. They lost 14 more guys in the portal. 29 guys off that roster they lost. 32% of their 85 scholarship limit they lost. That's unthinkable. And then they come back and do this in the playoff. They come back and beat an uber-talented Ohio State team when they didn't play their best game. When Bennett probably played, if you really look at Bennett, he probably played the worst game of the 2 years for the first 3.5 quarters against Ohio State, and then got hot. And that's why that game was so close, because he didn't play well. He played poorly. And you look at this team now, you're talking about 29 out of 30. You're talking about a team who next year, everyone says, well, can they three-peat? I mean, are you kidding me? Did you guys not watch those young guys on the field last night when they were playing? Did you not watch Jason Walker, Michael Williams, and Dalen Everett, and Xavier Story, and Marvin Jones Jr.? Those are the guys that are going to be the beast defense next year. They've had the best defense in the country the last 2 years, and guess what? They're going to have the best defense again. And guess what? Branson Robbins is going to be an absolute monster. Arian Smith and Adonai Mitchell are going to be absolute monsters on the outside for Carson Beck and quarterback. They're going to be a team that, once again, who's going to beat them right now? They are far and away the favorite right now next year.
You hear Matt Hayes every day on XL Primetime. You also read him at SaturdayDownSouth.com. Matt, you've covered college football for a long time, so I'm certainly interested in your opinion. I said the positive is Georgia. The negative last night to me was the world of college football, because no one's going to beat these guys. You just said it. It is January the 10th, and I will go ahead and tell you that in 51 weeks or whatever it's going to be, Georgia, probably Ohio State, Alabama, we know who the teams are going to be in the playoff next year. We talk about lack of parity. Matt, it was Bowles against DuPont Middle School last night in the national championship game. It was a bad night for college football, correct?
It was not a good night for college football, but I will say this. If we rewind just a little bit, Ohio State's got a brand new quarterback. It's probably going to be McCord, the 5-star that sat a couple years. They also, by the way, Michigan might have a brand new coach. And from what we've seen of Michigan on the big stage, it's not that good outside of the Big Ten. And then you start talking about, all right, well, guess what? What's Clemson right now? Is Clemson a team that you're nervous about? What about in the Big 12? Is there anybody in that conference right now that you're nervous about? Or the Pac-12, Oregon, or USC, which can't play defense? So I don't think it's just that Georgia's so good. I don't think that anyone right now has a complete team. Now, it might change at the end of spring when the transfer portal situation filters out a little bit and you see who has what. But right now the problem with everyone chasing Georgia, Alabama's going to have a new quarterback next year, Hack. I mean, is Tyler Simpson the guy? Do they go to the portal and find somebody? Who in the portal's left? Does someone leave, an elite quarterback leave a school so Alabama picks that quarterback up? Is Jalen Milroe the guy? We don't know what Alabama's got next year. So I think at the very least, Georgia, on paper, looks set up better than everybody else. And they've got a kid who's been in that system for 4 years getting ready to play quarterback. And he was out there throwing BBs in the few throws he made last night in the title game. And Carson Beck's a very talented quarterback. So it might take 3, 4, 5, 6 games for him to get into the flow of things at Georgia, which I doubt, but it may. But that defense, I don't know if y'all were watching that defense last night. Some of those guys who go to the NFL, those young dudes, Michael Williams is going to be just an absolute beast. Jason Walker, same thing. Dalen Everett, same things. I mean, those linebackers, Xavier Sawyer and Marvin Jones Jr., they haven't got on the field. Those guys would start for about 98% of the other teams in college football. So this team is really, really set up to win big. And the problem is all the other huge heavyweights in college football have questions.
Let me ask you this, and tell me if I'm crazy. Is this outrageous? I was thinking about this morning, and I think you're right, by the way. There are a lot of questions with a lot of big teams. Dare I say a team like Florida State could potentially be in the mix next year? They didn't. I mean, everybody's coming back, Matt. It's amazing. Jared Verse coming back. Fabian Lovett. I mean, these guys were going to be high draft picks. Jordan Travis coming back. Florida State, again, is cleaning up in the portal. I saw your colleague Brett McMurphy in his way too early preseason top 5 had Florida State at number 4. I got to tell you, when I think of teams that are going to make the playoff next year, there's a very short list. I think Florida State's going to be among that list.
Heck, I don't disagree, dude. I think it's great that they've got those guys coming back. I think it's a mistake for Versus. Could be a top 10 pick, but I look at that team and I love what they did. I love what Mike Norvell did. I was saying in early November, I think it's going to be a 10-win team because they were just trending that way. But, man, that team, I watched that last regular season game, and but for the Florida quarterback throwing it 30 feet over Jonathan Odom's head on a 4th and 12, that team is not a playoff team, buddy. I'll tell you that right now. That team, and I don't care how many people you add in the portal, because they added a couple nice guys from the portal. We're not talking about impact defensive players. That's not what they added from the portal. So I don't see that team remotely close standing up to any of the 4 that are in that playoff next year. Now, I think they'll be a very good team next year. I think they'll have a chance to win the ACC next year. But I'm not sure what that says as far as where they are among the nation's elite. And because I think when I start talking about the playoff act, and maybe I'm wrong by saying this, when I start talking about the playoff, I think, all right, 4 elite teams. But maybe we all have to start readjusting about how we're looking at the playoff now in this era of Georgia football. I also think here's another thing to bring it a little bit home, like you love to do. I mean, if you're a Florida Gator fan, this is what you're chasing right now. It's not just that Georgia is the top of college football. It's not that Georgia is the top of the SEC. It's that Georgia is your rival. So if you're Billy Napier, everything you do will now be seen through the lens of how badly are you going to get beat by your rival, or how much closer are you to your rival. It's a sobering place to be right now if you're Billy Napier, I'll tell you that.
Couple of more from Matt Hayes, Saturday Down South. Of course, you hear him every day on XL Primetime. I had a Gator fan over the weekend text me, a buddy of mine, and say, look, all things come to an end. What Florida had with Urban Meyer in 2006 and 7 and 8 and 9. And I said, yeah, that's true, but Urban got tired of it. Urban stopped recruiting. Urban wanted a way out, particularly when Tebow and the boys went off to the league. Kirby Smart is loving life. Kirby Smart doesn't want a way out. He's not going to the NFL. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. This is what Kirby Smart has dreamt to do his entire career. So the parallels between Florida falling off after Urban, I don't think have anything to do with Georgia, because Kirby obviously is not Urban.
Hack. So at the end of that game, literally 2 or maybe 2 or 3 minutes after the final seconds wound down, he's on ESPN, the broadcast, and he was asked about, how does it happen? And this is his quote. You ready? This is literally after winning back-to-back national titles. As long as you don't have entitlement in your program, you've got a shot. Right now, we don't have that. Now, here's the key. You ready for this? It's creeping, Smart said, the entitlement. It's creeping. And games like this make it that way. He is a maniac. And I say that with all loving terms. He's an absolute maniac. He's 2 minutes from winning 2 in a row, and he's already talking about, you can't have entitlement. It's creeping, and that's how, games like this make it that way, and that's how you don't win 3 in a row. He's literally already on them. He's already on them about winning 3 in a row, about staying the course, about, doing unique things. He's a fantastic recruiter, a top 2 or 3 recruiter. He's a great coach. He's clearly the best coach in the game now, and I know people hate to hear that. Alabama people hate to hear that. Kirby is the best coach in the game right now. And Nick was watching on the broadcast, and I wrote about this morning at Saturday Down South, that Nick was watching this all play out in front of him on the broadcast. He must have wanted to puke because Kirby has built what he built in the early 2010s when Nick could have won 4 or 5 national championships and won 2. And I think Kirby's going to win more. And oh, by the way, do we finally have to start acknowledging, Hack, that one of the reasons why Nick was so dominant was a guy named Kirby Smart, who was recruiting those players, who was devising that defense. I mean, how can you now not say, okay, Kirby was a major part of what Nick did?
A final college thought, Matt, again, because I want to get a final thought from you on the Jaguars here. But what I just said with Kirby, and you know him, you've interviewed him, you've been around him for several years. I don't think he would ever want to go anywhere else. I mean, he played at Georgia. It's his dream. Do you think, though, and this is probably 2, 3, 4 years down the road, if this continues and they just keep wiping the floor with people, because that's what they're doing right now, would there ever be an urge to say, all right, I've literally done all I can do here. I have 4 or 5 national titles, whatever. I wonder how I would do in the National Football League. Would that ever happen with Kirby Smart?
I don't think he's an NFL coach. I think, if anything, he'll just resign. Kirby goes hard, man. He goes hard. He gets after it. He's like, Meyer times Saban hard. And I think if anything slows him down, it'll be, look, I've won 4 national titles, or I've won 5 in 7 years. I got to pull back. I got to stop. I got to be with my kids. I got to, whether it's health or whatever. He just goes really, really hard. And maybe his wife convinces him, hey, let's go relax somewhere on a beach. And maybe it's that. I don't see him going to the NFL. He's at the perfect place right now. He loves Georgia. He loves Georgia like Vince Dooley loved Georgia. Vince wasn't even a grad of Georgia. He was an Auburn guy. So Kirby's a Georgia guy. He's a Georgia alum. He played for Georgia. He's led Georgia to a national championship. He loves that university. So I don't see him leaving there. But 7, 8 years down the road, when they've won 4 more championships, could he say, yeah, I think it's time, man, I'm done. I'm burnt out. Yeah, I could see that. But in NFL, no way.
Final moments here with Matt Hayes. All right, Matt, leave us with this. The Jaguars on Saturday, back in the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. In fact, they're going to have their first home game, primetime home playoff game in the 28-year history of the franchise against the Chargers. Just your thoughts on what the Jags have accomplished this year and your expectations for Saturday night.
I don't want to overstate it, but it's just a monumental season, honestly. I mean, you're talking about a franchise that won 4 games in the last 2 years. And last year, Hack, was about as dysfunctional of a team as you've probably seen in the NFL in a long, long time. And I mean from the jump. Remember the week 1 against the Texans, and we were all like, what in the world is going on out there?
It was awful, yeah.
I mean, they couldn't even line up. They couldn't get enough people on the field. It's almost like they hadn't practiced anything. And then you go through the entire season of all that drama with Herb and the fact that we could have run a quarterback sneak, but we haven't practiced it yet. And it was week 11. And I mean, the stuff that they went through last year is just I don't know how any team rebounds from that unless it's like a 2 or 3 period. And they did it in one season. They were, they won a division that, granted, was not as competitive as the other divisions. But the reality is this team could have and probably should have won 3 or 4 more games. Then you're looking at a 12-5 or a 13-4 team. This is not a 9-8 team. I think people see that and they think, that's 9-8. They won a bad division. That's not what this team is. And to think that they were 3-14 last year, Hack, and they very easily could have won 12 or 13 games this year, it's remarkable what Doug Peterson has done, what those players have bought into, how they're all playing at their ceiling right now, and how they all feel good about what they're doing, and they're getting better. It's late in the season. This is when in the NFL, when it's hard to play because everybody's hurt, this team's getting better. Do they win this weekend? I don't know. I mean, you'll have a healthy Chargers team, but I keep hearing that, and I also think, you know what? They beat this team by 4 touchdowns on the road, and guess what? This wasn't the same team either as far as what they know they can do, the confidence that they have in winning games, the way Trevor Lawrence is playing now, the way the defense is playing now. It's not the same team. So would I be surprised if they win Saturday night? Heck no, I wouldn't. I think at this point, I'm not surprised by anything with this team.
That's a good point about what week 3. And look, I think the bottom line is they had some jitters against Tennessee. They didn't play their best, but they gained experience in a win-or-go-home game. And I think that could matter on Saturday. Maybe they got their postseason jitters out of the way a week early. Maybe they'll play a little more free, a little more composed this Saturday against the Los Angeles Chargers. Matt Hayes, you get him every day on XL Primetime. You also read his terrific work there at SaturdayDownSouth.com. Matt, thank you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
All right, Hack.
Always enjoy the conversation with Matt Hayes. You get him every day on Primetime. And again, Saturday Down South is where you can read his terrific work in the world of college football. And yeah, look, I mean, to the victors go the spoils, right? It's Georgia's world. Everybody's living in it. I just don't like the direction we're going in college football. And it's been this way for a long time. It just seems like it's getting further away from finding a solution. You got about 10 or 12 halves, and the other 115 Division I programs are kind of like the have-nots. They can have a good year at 7-5 or 8-4, but that's the tip-top of the mountain for them, and there's only about a dozen teams that every year, it seems, can compete for that national championship. We'll shift gears back into the world of the National Football League, the Jaguars and the Chargers, 8:15 Saturday night. Of course, the game can be heard right here on 1010XL. Pre-game coverage beginning here on the radio station at 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. My man John Shipley, Jaguar Report. We'll look back on the AFC South championship win over the Titans, and we'll certainly look ahead to what lies ahead with the Los Angeles Chargers. In the 11 o'clock hour, we will go to Los Angeles. Fernando Ramirez covers the LA Chargers, has so for a while now. Fernando Ramirez, you can check his work out there at the Sporting Tribune in the state of California. And Justin Barney of Channel 4 also set to join us in the 11 o'clock hour. With Dylan Denmark, the hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, thank you for staying up late with us on a Tuesday night here in Duval County. It is Hacker After Dark.
60 minutes of football.
60 minutes.
4 quarters
for a 4-quarter fight.
And one play that ruled the day.
Throws it for the touchdown!
Performance Painting presents the high-performance play of the game on 1010XL. Prepare, protect, preserve.
15,000 workers. I'm Brian Rose from Remedy Staffing. We survey 15,000 blue-collar workers each year to better understand what drives quality and dependability in our workforce. The survey shows when looking for a new job, the initial pay rate, job security, and safety while working are the most important factors for hourly workers. If you're an employer and would like to learn more about the voice of the blue-collar worker, please call us at 904-528-1933.
drivers and heavy truck mechanics. If you like sports, then you're going to love working at Waste Management.
We have a team atmosphere here where we're looking out for one another. We jump in to help out.
Listen up. WM is now offering a $5,000 new hire bonus to CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics for jobs at our sites in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine.
It's camaraderie. It's everything. I like it.
Steady work, competitive pay, weekly paychecks, opportunities for overtime, paid training, and a generous boot and tool allowance.
Plus, over-the-top benefits like 100% tuition coverage for you and your family, and home every day.
CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics. Apply online at WM.com/careers. That's WM.com/careers. Search driver and mechanic jobs in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine, Florida.
A people first, military friendly, equal opportunity employer.
We are WM.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here, Propello Windows and Doors. Look, it's kind of cooling down right now, and I love opening the windows up a bit this time of year. And if you're looking to upgrade your windows in your home, I want you to visit the Pella Showroom on Phillips Highway. Ask about their latest hurricane and impact-resistant windows and doors, rated #1 by Consumer Reports in all 3 main window categories. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway right next to Tesla. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Now that the holidays have passed, it's time to call Zero Res. Zero Res can clean your carpets, area rugs, sofa, tile, and more. Right now, get 20% off carpet cleaning and 20% off upholstery cleaning. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On January 10th, 1982, deemed The Catch, Dwight Clark makes a fingertip catch for a touchdown from Joe Montana. Niners beat the Cowboys and go to the Super Bowl.
Ever have a membership that pays for itself in about 2 visits? I'm Daniel Heilman from Foursquare Golf Tavern, and our membership drive special is going on right now. Our memberships include free non-peak hour play, half-off weekend rentals, and weekly food and beverage perks. We're also going to host golf tournaments for our members throughout the year. Starting at $99, it can pay for itself in 2 visits. Check out the membership tab at foursquaregolf.com. We'll see you at Foursquare Golf Tavern, foursquaregolf.com.
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
This is Hayes Carlyon for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that specializes in pest, termites, mosquito, and rodent prevention. I tell you what, when I got my new home, I had to put on my reporter's hat, find out who really is the best, and it turns out there's no competition. Kingfish provides exceptional service and treats me like a valued customer, not just an account. That's why I wholeheartedly recommend Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
To be our best selves, we need to take care of our whole self. That includes your spirit, mind, and your body. At the First Coast YMCA, our members find balance in spirit, mind, and body with unlimited group exercise classes, adult sports leagues, health coaching, and programs designed for chronic disease prevention. And if you join the Y now, you'll pay nothing until February. Discover all the benefits of a Y membership and find your Y at fcymca.org.
Wholesale prices, premium service, Tire Outlet.
Captain Kevin Favor here, and this January, when you buy a set of 4 Kumho tires, you will get a free oil change and a holiday scratch-off with exclusive savings throughout 2023. Tire Outlet will install a new oil filter and refill up to 5 quarts of motor oil. Save now by shopping today at TireOutlet.com.
Wholesale prices, premium service, Tire Outlet.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Youth sports are getting back into full swing, so you know what that means. Custom Yetis so dads can keep their beer or sodas cold. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Now.
Yellow.
Another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line, brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Chargers, Saturday night, 8:15 in the NFL playoffs. You'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. Let's talk with a man that's joined us all season long. He's always kind enough and gracious enough with his time. That's my man John Shipley of Jaguar Report. John, how we doing?
Hey, doing good, my friend. How you doing?
John, we're good, man. Thank you as always for the time. You and I talked about a month ago. It was the last time I had you on. I think at that time the Jaguars were either 4-8 or 5-8. And my goodness, I mean, in your wildest imagination, could you ever have envisioned a month ago that we would be at this point about to host a game in Jacksonville on playoff weekend?
No. I mean, it wasn't until after the Dallas game that I thought it was really, like an actual possibility. I know they were always, maybe mathematically in it, but I didn't believe until after the Dallas game that, okay, wow, this could actually happen. So, they've defied odds at every step of the way. And I think that's, one thing that you can't take away from them, at all is that they never, gave up on the opportunity. They always saw themselves as still in it because mathematically, of course, they were always selling it. But, when you talk to people inside the building, there was never a sense of, okay, this is something that it's not doable or something like that. So I definitely think it's something that they, kind of spoke into existence.
John, you're around this team every day, man. You've been around this team every day back to training camp and certainly for the last 5 months. I mean, how did this happen? How did we go from 3-7 to 9-8 and now hosting a playoff game?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with really, some of the most important players on the team, kind of taking that next step and growing up. I think, obviously, Trevor Lawrence, he had to take that next step in his evolution as a quarterback. He played his best football during that stretch. They don't beat the Ravens. They don't beat the Cowboys. Several of those wins without him playing some of his best football. So I think that's absolutely the biggest factor in it. And I think another thing is you're seeing a number of guys across the defense playing their best football this season. These last couple of weeks, guys like Josh Allen, Devon Hamilton, Arden Key, and then the secondary, Rayshon Jenkins, Tyson Campbell. You're seeing Darius Williams. You're seeing really elevated play across the board, and whether you want to attribute that to coaching, guys being able to gel together for so long, or just guys taking that upon themselves for their own self-improvement. It's really it seems like everybody's hitting their best football this season at the right mark, and it goes down to the most important players such as Trevor, Josh Allen, guys like that.
To that point, you think about the biggest wins of the year, right? The Baltimore game, the Dallas game, the Charger game, going all the way back to week 3. Trevor Lawrence shined in all those games. Saturday night against Tennessee, Trevor Lawrence did not shine. He wasn't bad, but he certainly wasn't great. And yet the Jaguar special teams, the Jaguar defense won anyway. And to me, John, maturity, coming of age, whatever verbiage you want to use, boy, that to me is a sign of a good football team.
Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of teams that win in January. Teams that, they just figure out a way no matter what to win the football game. It doesn't matter if it's the offense clicking, if it's the defense clicking. I mean, should people be concerned that the offense didn't have their best game of the year in Week 18? I mean, maybe to a tiny extent, but the important thing in that game was simply winning the game, no matter how it happened, whether it's by 1 point, whether it's by 4 like they got. So I think that's the mark of a good team, is finding different ways to win. And, the Jaguars the last couple of years, they were finding different ways to lose. It seemed like they lost in really every fashion possible. And now they finally have been able to flip that script. And, that's what the good teams do.
It is what the good teams do. Again, John Shipley, Jaguar Report, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And the good teams rally around the home crowds. And that crowd on Saturday night, I mean, that reminded me of 1999. That reminded me about 1996 in the Atlanta game with Morton Anderson. I mean, you go back to the mid to late 90s when this team was in its infancy, and that reaction on Saturday night when Josh Allen recovered that ball that Rayshon Jenkins stripped out of Josh Dobbs' hands, that was as loud as I've heard that stadium in a long, long time. It was refreshing, and I know the players and coaches have both talked an awful lot about that here in the last couple of days.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You had several guys say it was among the best, if not the best, football atmospheres they played in. Tyson Campbell after the game said, he thought he was back at Georgia and, at Stanford Stadium, some of the insane crowds and atmospheres that they've had over the last couple of years. So I think it kind of, showed what everybody's always, everybody who's connected to the team, who follows the team, who covers the team, has always kind of said over the years that as long as you simply put, a winning product, a competent product on the field, the fans are going to show up. I mean, this is a loyal fan base. It's a fan base that, no matter how much it's been beaten down over the years, all the rumors of relocation for years like that, the blackouts, everything like that in the past, this fan base has always been loyal. And, it's always been my belief that as long as you simply give them a football team worth coming out in droves for, they'll do it. And I think that kind of proved it.
Well, and I'll tell you what else it proves, too, is just leadership, right, for this football team. When you hire the right guy and the right guy puts the right staff in place, great things can happen. I mean, rewind the clock back 365 days. The coaching search began right about this time after the absolute just nightmare that was Urban Meyer last year. And I want to say they actually interviewed Doug Peterson for the first time right around now, back in 2022, and ultimately hired him 30-plus days later. But my goodness, John, what that guy has brought not only to this team, this organization, but really the city of Jacksonville, I don't know if you can put enough praise on the job Doug Peterson has done here in 1 year.
No, absolutely. I personally, I think he should be in heavy conversation for Coach of the Year. I mean, you look at across the league at some of the guys, obviously Brian Dable is going to get some serious consideration. I don't see any reason why Doug Peterson shouldn't get that same situation. In the locker room, he inherited, this was a team full of, there was some talent here, some young talent, but it was young talent that had not been developed whatsoever. Guys were not shown last year how to be pros, what it takes to win in the NFL. Guys in 2020, they went 1-15. They didn't know it either. So you take that, plus a bunch of new faces coming in, having to gel all of that together. I think he's done a masterful job this season. They aren't here without Doug Peterson. And I think, for all of the flack that they caught throughout the process, and, a lot of it came, from me, I criticized the process at many points. Shad Khan ended up making, in my opinion, the best hire of the offseason. He could have gone with, the nostalgia hire of Byron Leftwich that a lot of the fan base, wanted. He didn't do that. He could have gone with, the new shiny toy, a young and upcoming offensive coordinator who's never done it. He didn't do that. He went with a coach who, for some reason, teams, had not already offered in the last year to 2 years. And he made, in my opinion, a hire that is going to change the franchise forever.
And look, Shad Khan kept Trent Baalke amidst unbelievable pressure from the fan base, to the fact where they were dressing up as clowns in the last home game last year. And look, have there been some mistakes? Yeah, have there been some things that maybe they would like to have done differently? Of course, but my gracious, again, the job Baalke's done with bringing in talent. I mean, Kirk Zay-Jones and Evan Ingram were terrific signings. Oluwakin, Darius Williams, Fatukasi, terrific signings. Brandon Sheriff, obviously. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to maybe say the fan base owes Baalke an apology. That's for each and every fan to decide, the ones that criticized him unmercifully last year. But I'm just, at this point, happy that Khan kind of stayed the course, because it appears Baalke has done a very, very good job.
Yeah, I mean, I think you even look, to the 2021 draft class. I think that draft class and this free agency class are the two things Baalke as a general manager of Jacksonville can hang his hat on. And he can say, he did good work, and that's what has elevated this roster. I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, but guys like Tyson Campbell, Walker Little, Andre Cisco all had good games on Saturday, all played a big part in this run. Luke Farrell had one of their biggest plays on offense for a struggling offense. So I once again, Baalke, like you said, have there been some missteps? Absolutely. That's going to happen with any front office. And there was a point in the season, before they started this turnaround where, they had the most expensive defense in the NFL, and it was, I believe, the 32nd ranked pass defense. There were moments even this season where it looked like, okay, is this the guy to kind of right the ship? But after, a full 17-game season, I think, he definitely deserves, a lot of credit. And I don't think there should be any questions asked, going into the offseason about kind of the front office and its alignment because, they got what's working right now. And there's no reason to mess with it.
All right, John, the Los Angeles Chargers come here. Baltimore to Cincinnati, Miami to Buffalo. But to me, the game of the week in the AFC is the Los Angeles Chargers coming here to Jacksonville. It is a rematch of Week 3. And again, I don't know how much stock to even put in that when you consider James Robinson had 100 yards, including a 50-yard touchdown. That seems like a lifetime ago, that game. The Chargers are much healthier now, certainly, but everybody's going to be talking about Herbert versus Lawrence. And you look at all 6 wildcard games this week, John, I'm not sure if there's a better matchup, a better 50-50 split, if you will, than what we're going to see between the Chargers and the Jaguars.
Yeah, no, I think this is the best game this weekend. And, that says a lot about both teams, really the work that they've done to get to this point. I personally think that, it's going to be a game where, Jaguars have obviously played their best football as a team these last couple of weeks. They've hit their stride at the right point. The Chargers, obviously, Week 18 was a bit of a step back, but before that, they were playing their best football this season. I mean, 2 young quarterbacks who have the chance to be, 2 of the faces of the NFL and the position moving forward. Facing off first playoff game for both of them. 2 head coaches who are really respected. Peterson versus Staley. An offensive play caller versus a defensive play caller. I don't think you should really take Week 3 into account just how many guys the Chargers didn't have for that game and then how many guys they lost during the game. But I think it's going to be the best game this weekend, hands down.
And look, we're hoping for a Jaguar win, and I'm actually not sure it's so early in the week. I'm not ready to make a prediction yet. And I even hate to ask you this, but I will, because I don't think the players feel this way. I mean, the coaches certainly don't. But I'll be honest, I've talked to a couple of Jaguar fans that say, well, after last week over the Titans, everything else is now gravy, right? I mean, your personal mindset on that, John. They've won the division. They're probably a year ahead of where everybody thought. They were 3-7 7 weeks ago. I mean, after you win the division, coming back from that, is everything gravy from this point, or do you still feel this team has more in them?
I think they have more in them. I really think, especially if you're trying to establish, the winning culture that they keep talking about, the kind of culture in Jacksonville that they've been missing for years. I think games like these are, more important than any of the other games that they played. Getting a chance to get that playoff experience, having a young roster, find out what it takes to win in the playoffs. I think that's huge. Does that mean I expect them for the standard to be for them to go all the way? No, it'd obviously be a surprise when you have teams like the Bills, Cincinnati, Kansas City all coming, at this time in the season. But I think overall the Jaguars, it would be huge for them, moving forward, just in their entire plan in terms of team building to win this game.
I'll tell you what's interesting about the seeding, too. And again, just something to think about going into this week. A team like Cincinnati is a prime example. A team like Buffalo is a prime example. Even though they're higher seeds, they're going to have to, no doubt, win at least 2 games against the other 3. I mean, Buffalo and Cincinnati are going to knock each other out, right? That's going to happen if they play in the divisional round, the 2 versus 3 matchup. So Jacksonville will avoid, if Jacksonville can beat Los Angeles, a big if, they will avoid either Cincinnati or Buffalo. Who knows what happens, down the line. But there's a chance as the 4 seed that could even be a little bit better standing than maybe the 2 or the 3 seed is.
Oh, no, absolutely. I really think, that's the key to winning the division as opposed to getting in a wild card. I mean, to me, the Dallas Cowboys are a perfect example. They were arguably the second or third best team in the NFC, but they're the 5th seed now. And they're going to have to do, a lot of traveling because they didn't win the division. So, that's the key to really being the team that, in my opinion, that's every team needs to build for their division and to win the division title, and everything else kind of comes into place after that. And I think the Jaguars did that.
John, final question. What's your gut tell you? I know it's early in the week, but do you have a feeling one way or another yet about this game?
Yeah, I think the Jaguars will win this game. I think Doug Peterson is going to have, the plays there to make for the offense. against Staley's team. And I feel like the Jaguars have, at least one more.
Boy, if you think this city's on cloud nine right now, if they win on Saturday night and advance the divisional round, holy moly. Let's hope you're right. John Shipley, Jaguar Report, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. John, thank you, man. Know you're busy right now with everything going on with the game. Enjoy yourself on Saturday night, and we'll be reading you over at Jaguar Report.
Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
It's been a long time, but it's finally playoff time. This week, listen for playoff perspectives from former players who know what it's like to be in the postseason. Playoff Perspectives on 1010XL are brought to you by Monahan Jewelers and Zero Res.
Every day, we look for ways to improve our processes in order to deliver to you, our precious customer, the very best sales and service experience in the world. From our super facility to our amazing staff, everything we do is for you. So with hopes of improving your experience even more, we're announcing we'll be closing the store on Sundays, beginning the first of the year. We believe that well-rested team members will provide you with the world-class experience you deserve. Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet, we're going to wow you, just not on Sunday.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Rubinsky. The physicians at Prime Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Prime Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now, 904-664-8217. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Owen. I'm a cigarette.
Do you like being a cigarette?
No, I don't. Not really into killing thousands of people. Sorry, no filter.
Right.
What's your sign?
Pisces?
I'm a Cancer. Cigarette joke. But seriously, I do cause cancer. And heart disease. And strokes. I could go on forever. Unlike the people who smoke me.
The average smoker lives 10 years less than non-smokers. Quit today. Find out how at tobaccofreeflorida.com.
Roland, 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 we're all calling Roland. The toilet's overflowing, oh my.
When hairballs, grease, and goo just won't let that water through, you need Roland Reich Plumbing by your side. When you have got a leak and you just can't wait a week, call 260-7059. Roland Reich Plumbing.
The flagship station of the Jaguars, WJXL-FM, Jacksonville Beach.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? Sure you do. You can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line of Credit. Wipe out all those credit cards now. Prosser here. Rates are down, and this is a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money. Pay off high-interest loans of any kind, credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. So call Loan Pronto now, 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Also go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods, and happy to report that Dandy has some brand new goodies, and they're only available at select Gate stores around town. 5 delicious new breakfast items to start your day off right. Fresh buttermilk biscuits, flaky croissants, French toast, maple waffles, all matched up with country sausage, ham, or bacon, fried eggs, and cheddar cheese. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so go out and make yours a dandy just a little bit earlier tomorrow.
Got that hometown flavor creeping up on you, yeah.
My partners had told me I should get my knee replaced. I was in my 40s, and I decided that I wouldn't do that.
That's orthopedic surgeon Dr. John Herzog, who found regenerative medicine years ago and became a believer.
It changed my life around. It improved me to a point where I was able to jog again.
That's when Dr. Herzog switched his focus from surgery to helping his patients with natural biologics.
I've treated at least 5,000 patients. I believe your body has everything it needs to heal itself.
Today, you'll find Dr. Herzog at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in this exciting field of medicine that can give lasting pain relief with no downtime, no drugs, and no surgery.
I have patients coming up to me that I did 10 years ago saying, Doc, my elbow's still working great. I'm playing tennis 3 days a week.
Call QC Kinetics now to explore alternative ways to deal with your pain. It's a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Now,
hello.
Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Chargers in the AFC playoffs Saturday night, 8:15. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. Let's go to the state of California and let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers with our friend Fernando Ramirez. He is our Chargers guy here on 1010XL, and he's always kind enough to join us. Fernando, how we doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. And obviously, a lot of drama to get here. But finally, playoff football is here, and I think it's going to be one of the best AFC as a whole. Like so many young quarterbacks, it's going to be so much fun to watch. I think these next few weeks.
Yeah, Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence. It is going to be some scene. All right, let's rewind the clock back to last week. I saw on Twitter Charger fans, even some Chargers media, losing their minds that Brandon Staley, the head coach of Los Angeles, was playing his guys in a, quote, meaningless game. They end up losing to Denver anyway, and Mike Williams left the game with a back injury. So was last Sunday just kind of a disaster all the way around?
I don't know if I would call it a disaster. I mean, some people are speculating that maybe Joey Bosa got hurt as well because he got yanked right before halftime. But I just think it was Joey already had a sack. He had already pressured Russell Wilson another time and almost got to him. And Joey obviously is coming off of that groin injury, so why risk him? And I tell people, if Joey was really injured, he wouldn't have been on the sideline joking around with other teammates and having his helmet on. So I think Joey's fine. Kenneth Murray had a stinger, but he was on the sideline as well. But the Mike Williams thing is a little bit concerning. Now there's reports that it's back spasms. If it is, then lucky for the Chargers to get a lucky break, but I understood what Brandon Staley was doing. Did I agree with it? No, because in my opinion, I wouldn't have played Mike Williams or Keenan Allen. Why? They haven't this season. Both of them have been injured the whole year. Like Keenan's missed 8 games or 9. Mike has missed about 4 or 5 or 6 even. And it's like, why risk either one? I would have wrapped them. I would have put them in a glass gold case, sat both of them, and just been like, hey, Herbert, you've done it, and played Justin maybe a quarter and a half, just like in preseason, yanked him, and then just thrown Chase Daniel in there. I mean, I just don't understand why you run the risk. He said it was because they wanted to feel the momentum going into Jacksonville. I understand it. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he would have gone in and sat everybody and gone into Jacksonville and lost, everybody would be like, well, why didn't you play all your players? That's the reason why. If you sit him, everybody gets cold. If he does it and people get hurt, well, why'd you do it? People are getting hurt. So I understand that aspect. But I would have, I maybe would have sat Keenan and Mike over everybody else. I probably would have sat those two guys because those two guys have been injured so often this year.
Fernando Ramirez of the Sporting Tribune. You know, last week, Fernando, Jaguar fans were up in arms at the NFL making the Jaguars play on 6 days rest after Tennessee played on Thursday. It's not as big a deal this week, but Jacksonville gets a full week. Los Angeles was in Denver on Sunday night. They're going to have to, they traveled back, they got home, and now they got to fly across the country for a Saturday game. Is there any complaining going on by the Chargers, the fans, the media, that the NFL put them on Saturday night?
No, I think there's just excitement for playoff football. Obviously, with Mike Williams' injury, some fans I did notice were like, "Wow, why couldn't we have gotten the Monday night slot?" I honestly thought it was going to be the Monday night slot. To be honest, I thought, "Oh, well, you have Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence," but obviously you can't beat the Cowboys and Tony Romo or Tom Brady on Monday Night Football, I guess. But I thought that this was going to be a Monday night game, but it's not. But I mean, I don't think there's any complaining. I just think that Brandon Staley's group all season haven't complained. They've just put their heads down and gotten to work and really just put it together and try and play hard. So I think that's their thing. They don't care about the schedule. They just care about going in there and trying to get out with a win against a really tough team that they've already faced once before this season.
You know, we had you on before that Week 3 game, and that was a lifetime ago. I told Jaguar fans, don't think about that game basically at all. If you want to know anything about that game, James Robinson was a 100-yard rusher and scored a 50-yard touchdown, and James Robinson hasn't been on the Jaguar roster for almost 2 months. So that game against the Chargers in Week 3, I think, is almost meaningless. But from a Charger point of view, is there a revenge factor or anything along those lines because of 38-10 in Week 3?
No, I think it's a different team also. And I mean, the thing is, they didn't have Keenan Allen there. Center Corey Linsley didn't play as well. There were some other, Joey Bosa went out, I think, at halftime with that injury. And then Rashawn Slater went out as well, their left tackle. So there's a lot of factors in this game, or in that game, that are different. So I'm sure that the Chargers they know they're a different team. Brandon Staley said it last night, or on Sunday night. So did Justin Herbert. He said, we're a different team. And they are. They've kind of put it together a little bit more. The defense is a lot better. I wouldn't let Sunday night against the Broncos say anything else. I think the defense is a lot better than what it was advertised there. I think it was a lot. I think Sunday against the Broncos was a little bit kind of like they had some nice sequences on defense, but at one point the players were kind of like, well, are we getting ganked or not? Are we still playing? Are we going to go hard? What are we doing? So I feel like that's why they gave up so many yards at one point. But I think the defense is a lot better than when it was against Jacksonville. They've done better against the run as well. Ever since Jerry Tillery since they released Jerry Tillery, it seems like the defensive line has done a lot better since he left the Raiders. So I think their defensive line has gotten better. Their offense is a lot better as well. So I wouldn't pay that game any mind as well. I'm with you. I don't think it has anything to do with this game. I think this game is going to be totally different for both sides. I think Jacksonville's playing really well on defense right now. They're really clamping down, and I think they're even better on defense than they were in that matchup in Week 3.
Fernando Ramirez of the Sporting Tribune talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. They come in here on Saturday night for playoff action. You'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. Fernando, from a Jaguar point of view, I almost think we're a year ahead. I thought of us as maybe like the Chargers of last year. Get to the very end of the year, we'll see what happens. Last year, it didn't work out for the Chargers. They got eliminated the last week of the regular season. Now Herbert's in year 3. They get into the postseason. I was expecting Trevor Lawrence in year 3 to get into the postseason. The Jaguars are a year ahead of the script to me. But back to you guys, back to the Chargers, how important was it for Herbert to get into the postseason? Because that had been kind of the complaint. You know, he's a great quarterback, but he hasn't gotten into the postseason. Now that talk comes to an end.
Yeah, no, I mean, going back to the Jaguars, I mean, when you have a head coach that knows what he's doing, I mean, obviously things change, and Doug Peterson's, I think, one of the best coaches that the Jaguars could have gotten. He understands the MO. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach. It's funny because on my podcast, Compas on the Beat, my brother, who's one of our co-hosts, he called it. He's like, and before the season started, he's like, I think the Jaguars are going to make it to the playoffs. They'll win the division. I was like, get out of here. The Jaguars, like, you watch, Doug Peterson's going to turn that thing around. So very impressed with what Doug Peterson's done there. But you're completely right about Justin Herbert. He needed to get into the playoffs, and it's not indicative on him because everybody's. I've heard some networks and some people go out there, and you can tell they're nothing. They're not around the team. They don't know anything. They're like, oh well, Justin needs to lead them into the playoffs. Justin did everything he could last year to get him into the playoffs. I mean, he literally went 8 for 9 on fourth downs against the Raiders, and they just couldn't get it done because the defense just couldn't. The defense just wasn't good enough. So what did the team do? They went out and they got Khalil Mack, Kyle Van Noy, Sebastian Joseph Day, like guys that are going to impact on this defense and help them be better. So obviously now the defense has done a lot better this year, but Justin Herbert needed to get into the playoffs. It's just because of his talent too. You want to see that talent in the playoffs because right now, I mean, there's the unknown. There's the unknown with the Chargers. There's the unknown with the Jaguars. I mean, everybody saw Cincinnati last year make it on that run. The Chargers or the Jaguars could be that Cincinnati Bengals this year where they could end up making a surprise run and making it all the way. You just never know with the playoffs. And that's the fun thing about having young, unexperienced quarterbacks. Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence don't know what mistakes are in the playoffs. They don't know anything. They're going to go in here maybe playing carefree and just having fun. And who knows, maybe that turns into a Joe Burrow run like last year. So that's the fun part about watching young quarterbacks like these guys go at it. They could literally turn this into a huge run, and it'll be fun to watch.
You know, admittedly, I'm a little biased. I'm curious your point of view on this. I look at the 6 wildcard games this week, and Miami and Buffalo, well, you don't really know about Miami's health at quarterback. Buffalo should have a reasonably easy time, I would guess. Same thing, Baltimore-Cincinnati, nice rivalry, but we see that twice a year already. Heck, we just saw it this past weekend. You go to the NFC, the Giants and the Vikings, all right. I mean, again, that's a rematch from a regular season game. Minnesota taking on New York. I agree with you, Dallas and Tampa, but I'm not really sure how good Tampa is. Tom Brady's the reason that game is on Monday night. And then Seattle, San Francisco, I'm not a West Coast guy. You are. There's not a lot of intrigue for me there. But then I look at the game here. Herbert, Lawrence, the Chargers, the Jaguars. And I'm like, this might be the best wild card game of the 6 this upcoming weekend.
Oh, no, it 100% is. And that's why I told you I would have put it on the Monday night slot. That's my opinion. That Monday night slot would have been perfect for the Chargers to play. But, I mean, obviously – things are a little bit things are different where the decisions get made, but this matchup is just it's huge. I mean, it's two really good two great young quarterbacks. You have so many stars on both sides. You have so many personalities. I mean, I remember when Rayshon Jenkins was with the Chargers, he was an Energizer bunny. He was always dancing around. He was always getting excited. And look, he made the big play on Saturday where he stripped Joshua Dobbs, and Josh Allen scored that touchdown. The other Josh Allen scored that touchdown to win the game and send the Jaguars to the playoffs. And I think the city of Jacksonville is going to be electric. I mean, I heard them on Saturday. It was loud. It was aggressive. They were chanting "Ref, you suck." They were chanting all kinds of things. So I really think Jacksonville is in for a treat on Sunday, and even whatever happens. But I think Jacksonville's in for a treat on Saturday. I think this game is going to be really interesting. I think it is. I'm with you. I think this is going to be the game of the week. I think this is going to be the game that everybody's eyeballs are pierced onto their TV and is going to have everybody, even if you're not a fan of either team, it might have you jumping around with excitement just because both quarterbacks are so good and both teams are so exciting to watch.
Final moments here. Fernando Ramirez, the Sporting Tribune, talking Los Angeles Chargers. Fernando, as we wrap up, look, it's a cautious optimism for me. Again, I think the Jaguars, I'm not going to say this is the gravy on the mashed potatoes or the hot fudge on the vanilla ice cream, but it almost kind of is, right? They were 3-7, 7 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden they're 9-8 and hosting a playoff game in prime time on Saturday night. I mean, it's crazy, the turn of events here in 7 weeks. But then I see Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler and Khalil Mack and Derwin James. I mean, if you have a schoolyard pick'em in this game, of the first 10 guys taken, 7 or 8 of them might be Los Angeles Chargers. And I totally get that. I'm curious from your perspective, when you and your brethren in the media out there look at Jacksonville, what do you see and how challenging do you think the Jaguars will be to Los Angeles?
No, the way we see Jacksonville is an up and coming team that's ready to put their gloves on and they're ready to fight against anybody in the NFL. So that's the way I see them. I think Jacksonville is one of those up and coming teams that's ready to get into that fight. I think the Chargers are one of those teams that's getting ready to get into that fight too, to stay in the playoffs consistently for years to come as well. Just because when you have the quarterback, you have a lot. So, and I think that both of them are I think the Jaguars are coming. I just think it's like you said, it's maybe 1 year, just because I think they've overachieved, but I still think they're a good team. So I'm really I'm not surprised by the Jaguars, but I think they're going to continue to add on pieces. Trevor Lawrence is still a rookie on his rookie deal. And I think Jacksonville is going to get even better next season, especially with a full off season of Doug in the second off season of Doug Peterson and everything, and him go out and get more players and draft well. I think this team could be even better for years to come.
Fernando, it could be the start of a nice little rivalry with Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence on Saturday night. The Jaguars and the Chargers, 8:15. You'll hear it right here on 1010XL. Fernando Ramirez, the Sporting Tribune. Fernando, safe travels to Jacksonville, man. We'll see you this weekend.
Thank you. Have a great week, and everybody enjoy that Saturday night game, because it's going to be. I think the fireworks are going to start early, and it's going to be. They're gonna be firing off often just because of these two quarterbacks.
A great general knows what to anticipate from the enemy.
Out here, it's military law.
Hayes Carline takes you behind enemy lines.
And I'm in charge of enforcing it.
Each week during a Wingstop Kickoff Show, 5 hours before kickoff. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
Hello, Jacksonville. I'm going to get right to the heart of the matter. We have had 485 shootings in 2022. This includes murders and individuals being shot. Jacksonville is well on its way to being the murder capital of Florida per capita population again. The answer to the problem is simple. We as a community have got to come together and encourage one another to break the code of silence. Jacksonville cannot solve the problem, and they were not there when it happened. They desperately need our help. We have got to say enough is enough. I'm not going to take any more. Our family could be the next victim. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
For information about Mad Dad, go to Mad Dad's Jacksonville Chapter Facebook or MadDadsJacksonville.com.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Join Art Bikes Jacks and the Florida Theater for guided bike tours of the dynamic downtown public art spaces and the historic 1927 Florida Theater, Saturday, January 28th. Register at floridatheater.com.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
The Wounded Warrior Project provides what medicine and technology can't: community, counseling, and a second chance. Find ways to help at woundedwarriorproject.org.
City Rescue Mission has been providing food, clothing, and love for over 70 years to the homeless in Jacksonville. If someone you know is struggling, City Rescue Mission is here to help. Learn more about the City Rescue Mission at crmjax.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS, right here in Jacksonville, is the only hair transplant clinic in the Southeast to offer multi-unit hair grafting and the 45-minute PRP treatments. Grow your hair back. Call now for a free in-person evaluation. 904-777-IHRS. 904-777-4477 or visit hairforme.com.
To be our best selves, we need to take care of our whole self. That includes your spirit, mind, and your body. At the First Coast YMCA, our members find balance in spirit, mind, and body with unlimited group exercise classes, adult sports leagues, health coaching, and programs designed for chronic disease prevention. And if you join the Y now, you'll pay nothing until February. Discover all the benefits of a Y membership and find your why at fcymca.org.
This is Frank Frangie. Join Dan Hickett and me for All Things Gators, our podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with new episodes every Monday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL Florida Gators podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or TuneIn.
You don't have to go through yet another year with that knee pain or back pain. People with chronic pain are getting real lasting relief with QC Kinetics. Leon Searcy here. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine with locations right here in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra. These unique protocols use healing agents from your own body to target aching joints, repairing and restore damaged tissues, so you can move again with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Got shoulder pain, excruciating hip pain? If you have any arthritis pain or lingering pain from any injury, don't let them operate on you or give you more steroids. And say no to pain pills. Call QC Kinetics and see if their life-changing, all-natural treatments can get you living your best life in this year. People are raving about these treatments. This is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available as soon as next year. Make 2023 the year you say goodbye to joint pain. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522 in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra.
The Florida Forum welcomes one of the most decorated track and field athletes in history, Allison Felix, at the Times Union Center Wednesday, January 18th. Funds raised will help build a new state-of-the-art neonatal intensive care unit for Wolfson Children's Hospital. It's the only inpatient pediatric hospital in the region. Get your tickets by clicking thefloridaforum.com or call 202-2886. 202-2886. thefloridaforum.com.
Anybody can win at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Tampa. One jackpot is paid out every minute on the hottest slot machines and table games. With over $2 billion in jackpots paid out in the last year, you could be the next lucky winner. Seminole Hard Rock Tampa has over 800 rooms and suites, a luxurious rock spa and salon, award-winning restaurants, and an exciting comedy and concert lineup, including pool parties with world-renowned artists. With a variety of gaming, dining, and entertainment options, anybody can win at Seminole Hard Rock Tampa.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, there is so much going on with the Jaguars about to get ready for their first primetime home playoff game in franchise history. A lot going on in college as the Georgia Bulldogs just won their second straight national championship last night, and a lot going on the high school coaching carousel as a lot of jobs being filled as high school teams already, believe it or not, are beginning preparations for the 2023 season. With that, Justin Barney of Channel 4, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Justin, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
Not too bad. Kind of wrapping up over for Christmas. We had some all-area teams running at Christmas, so that was fun to catch up with a lot of those athletes, including Horrell Gray and Grayson Howard, our offensive and defensive players of the year, respectively. And after that kind of moves past, you turn your attention to the coaching moves on the high school circuit. Those are always seem to be the turnstile always revolving, and a lot of new coaches getting in and plugged into new programs.
Yeah, a lot of interesting moves. You and I spoke briefly a couple of weeks ago. I guess the biggest one at that time was Christopher Foy, right, from Jackson to Oakleaf, and then another job in Clay County got filled about a week and a half ago. Fleming Island goes and gets Bartram Trails longtime assistant Chad Parker.
Yeah, it was a good hire for Chad. You know, originally he had stepped away. He was hired at Wolfson, I believe, in the 2017 season. Things didn't work out there. He went back to Bartram Trail that year. They played for a state championship, and this is Chad's first true head coaching job. He's done wrestling. He's done football assistant coaching for a while. Does a lot of stuff with high school recruits in the area, even outside of football. So Chad is a well-known guy locally, but this is his first, quasi first head coaching job. So on the job briefly at Wolfson, as I mentioned, but at Fleming Island, a big step up for him. And Fleming and Bartram really remind me of one another. I know Fleming trying to get to that consistency of a Bartram Trail program, but those two schools remind me very, very much of one another. So Chad going to a great program over there, trying to build off the work Damian Springs did and his very consistent time leading that Clay County school.
Well, I think it's a great move by Fleming Island. And look, I had Coach Parker on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about it right when he took the job. I mean, you look at what Bartram has built, and you look at what Daryl Sutherland did with Bartram Trail. Well, certainly, you look at Chad Parker. He was Daryl Sutherland's kind of right-hand man there at Bartram. So I think it's a great move by Fleming to try to build that Bartram culture by hiring a guy that knows all about it in Chad Parker.
Yeah, right. And again, Bartram and Fleming, very, very similar programs. High schools came into existence around the same time together. And as I mentioned, Chad is really cut his teeth under one of the best public school coaches this area's ever seen, Daryl Sutherland. And again, Chad's background is beyond football too. He's done head wrestling coach duties for quite some time. So he is in Fleming Island is in kind of Clay County, where his wrestling mecca in the First Coast area. Clay County has been phenomenal, really a hotbed for wrestling too. So Chad really going into a program that I think he is going to be familiar with, obviously from a North Florida perspective, but also from a perspective that he knows Fleming and Bartram have played and some very good high stakes games over the years as well. So I think that's a great hire for Fleming Island. I think Chad Parker, the perfect fit to go over there and succeed Damian Springs.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. Speaking of Bartram, they also have a brand new head coach. They go outside of the area to bring in head coach Corey Johns.
Yeah, and that was an interesting hire. So I talked to both Corey and Ben Wendell last week, the athletic at Bartram Trail, and Ben said it was a natural fit there. So Corey is a guy who is from this region. He played high school football at Interlochen, has family in Putnam County still, and he played college football at JU for a little bit of time before going to Webber International. He's had 2 head coaching positions previously. He comes to the area from Nature Coast Tech. Pretty solid program down there, and he had them in the playoffs all 6 years of his tenure there. So very consistent, again, another similar program to Bartram Trail, Nature Coast Tech. So I think that's it'll be an interesting hire. He's young, he's 37. Again, he knows the area a little bit, and I know Ben Wendell and also Corey really want Daryl Sutherland to kind of stay involved with that program. So I don't think Daryl's going to be too far away from Corey. I know the two spent some time together before his hire was made official. So I know he's going to lean on Daryl quite a bit. I mean, he was there for 23 seasons. He is Bartram Trail through and through. So Corey doesn't want to replace Daryl. He's going to run a very balanced offense, but I know he's going to lean on Daryl and his coaching pedigree for quite some time. And I know that was very important to Ben Wendell and the hiring committee there at Bartram Trail, not to forget about what Daryl did and really to kind of still incorporate him into that program. So they get a young coach who's really kind of ascending in his career. So Corey Johns, not a name that a lot of people know from the coaching circuit locally, but it's certainly a name that has been around this area for a good bit of his high school and college career.
Justin, when you look at jobs that have been filled this offseason, jobs that were filled last offseason, you rattle off the schools, right? Mandarin, Oakley, Fleming Island, Bartram Trail, Fletcher a couple of years ago with Seatric Faison. You're talking about the biggest public schools in our area. Is that a coincidence, or is there something to that the coaching turnover is happening at all the big public schools?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of happenstance. I think it's just where it is in the situation. Bartram Sutherland had been there for 23 seasons. Mandarin has been a little bit of more of a cycle of coaches with Brian Braddock to Bobby Ramsey to Toby Bullock. So little bit of here and there with the coaching turnover, but again, it's a profession that is constantly changing, constantly evolving. It's not a 9-to-5 job, for instance, but they pay you like working in the poorhouse, but they expect so much of you. It's a 365-day a year part-time job in terms of what they pay. But I think a lot of these men, you love to be a coach. You love to lead young men. When I asked the question at High School Media Day back in July, why do you stay in this? Why do you do this? And it's because they love what they do. Certainly not for the pay, but I think as the stakes and the demands get higher and higher every year, I think a lot of those coaches, longer term coaches, and even some of the younger ones really weigh that out and say, is this really what I want to do with my time? And my time is valuable. My family is valuable, and you miss out on a lot of that time and a lot of those family experiences. And I just think it's a lot easier now to kind of view that and say, is this really what I want to do? But credit to the coaches, the men and women who continue to invest in that. Is a massive, massive commitment. They are massively underpaid, and I wish we would see that change here in Florida.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, what other jobs that came open have recently been filled?
We've got obviously the big ones, Corey and Chad at Bartram and Fleming Islands. Keystone Heights has just filled their position this week. Steve Reynolds, former Oakleaf and Bradford coach, moves up to the position of head coach at Keystone Heights, takes over for Chuck Dickinson. The guy had been there forever. Chuck Dickinson, really a coaching staple in Clay County. So Steve Reynolds ascends to that role. And then Menendez, Matt Potak steps down at Menendez. And we have a new guy, a similar familiar name, in Ben White, moving into that Menendez position. He's the former defensive coordinator at Oakleaf. So he knows the area well. People know his name well. So congrats to Ben White and Steve Reynolds taking over at Menendez and Keystone Heights, respectively.
And so with all the hirings that have happened, I mean, look, I know Atlantic Coast is rumored to be hiring a coach in the next day or two. I mean, there's not that many jobs that are still open, correct?
Yeah, you got a job at Jackson that is still open, a vacancy there. Christchurch still open, in West Nassau still open. So some schools have not filled those. I expect those to be filled probably within this month.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. All right, Justin, we don't normally talk anything outside the world of high school football, but it's a special week here. There is no doubt about that. It is the first night playoff game at home in the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And look, man, you've lived here your entire life. I mean, you're like me. You grew up in that stadium before you really got in to sports media, and I know you've enjoyed the run just like I have over the last 2 months. Just your thoughts on what Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars have accomplished here, really going back to, I guess, the middle of November.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Jacksonville lifer, or St. Augustine, St. Johns County lifer, and it's just awesome to see this community. And like you, I grew up as a fan of the Jaguars. I remember exactly where I was. I was a senior in high school, walking into my house when news of the Jaguars being awarded in 1993 broke, and it was euphoric, exciting. I remember the front page of the Times-Union special edition with the big Jaguars logo. We did it. Wayne Weaver holding the Jaguars helmet on the front, bottom of that paper. It's just an amazing time. And I've been fortunate to cover a lot of those Jaguars games starting in the 99 season. So it was at the 99 Dolphins playoff game, the Titans playoff game. I've covered hundreds of Jaguars games in my professional time, and it is never old to see the city get excited and rocking about that. You see it from a little bit of a different vantage point now, Hacker, you and I do, being in the media, but it's still awesome. And I say nothing excites and unites this town as much as an NFL team that's in success. And those playoff seasons that have been here in the past, the 99s, the playoff season in 2017, there's just a different air of excitement around this town, around this community, and just so awesome to be out there in the community, to be at stores and restaurants, and to have people talking to you about the Jaguars, or to see them up on the big screen. So just excitement, man. The place is going to be rocking on Saturday. I was there last Saturday, and what an environment, and I cannot wait to be there this Saturday night as well.
I made this point last night. On Saturday night, whether you're at the stadium, I also heard from a lot of people that work at sports bars, were at different sports bars around town. It felt like the late 90s. I mean, it felt like it did in this city back when Mark Brunell and Tony Baselli and Jimmy Smith were doing their thing. I mean, even in 2017, it was fun, but this season just feels, I guess, different even than that one did.
Yeah, and you even go back to 96 and how new that was, that Morton Anderson missed field goal, and just that excitement around town. The Dave Woodell comments, do you believe in miracles, to a stadium celebrating the Broncos win after the game that night in the divisional round. It's excitement. It's new. And I think it helps you got a Trevor Lawrence as a face of the franchise, and not a Blake Bortles, and you have an exciting offense, and just that excitement. To me, it's more reminiscent of of that excitement in 96 and 99 than it is in the years that followed, especially 2017. That was a different team, and it feels so new. It feels so exciting. And just after the barren stretch of time under Shad Khan, the struggles of Urban Meyer, the constant embarrassment of that regime, it just feels so exciting. The fan base has been starved for something like this for a long time, and man, it feels exciting everywhere around town, from the gas stations to the crowd at TIAA Bank Field. It just feels so different, euphoric, exciting, and I think it's going to be just next level excitement on Saturday.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, final thought. What do you think Saturday? Justin Herbert and the Chargers come in. Look, I think it's the best game of Super Wildcard Weekend. You got Herbert versus Lawrence. You got a primetime atmosphere. Al Michaels in the booth. Of course, we'll also have the game right here on 1010XL. What's your early thought this week?
Yeah, I think it's fans will be a little skewed because Jacksonville did beat them 38-10 in week 3 of the season, and I don't think you can look at that game. Los Angeles was beat up and banged up in that game, and a different kind of feeling and everything going into this one. So I think you kind of take one step before you take the other one, and you sound like a coach, but one play at a time, one step at a time. You can't look at it as anything more than just a game. And I know that Doug Peterson has said that time and again. The things don't change. Yeah, the stakes are increased, but it's still a football game. You got to treat it as such. And I think you got to keep perspective. If you're a fan, you got to throw that week 3 game out the window and treat this just like what it is, like it was last week, a playoff game.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, always appreciate the time, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Take care, Hack. Thanks for having me.
Always appreciate Justin Barney of Channel 4 for joining us here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. And that'll just about put a wrap on what has been a very busy Tuesday night show. They're all going to be busy this week. That's what happens when you have an NFL team in your city that has advanced to the NFL postseason. Again, thank you to Justin Barney of Channel 4 as the high school coaching carousel continues to spin. Thank you to John Shipley of Jaguar Report as, again, we look back on the Jaguars' win and the AFC South Championship over the Tennessee Titans, and certainly began looking at the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert, Bosa, Khalil Mack, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, they're all coming in. Derwin James. It is a very good Chargers team. Make no mistake about that. That's coming in here on Saturday night. And as always, my man Matt Hayes. You hear him every day on XL Primetime. You get him here as well occasionally on Hacker After Dark. You can read his terrific work on SaturdayDownSouth.com as the Georgia Bulldogs, head coach Kirby Smart and Georgia, back-to-back national champions, just absolutely embarrassing TCU last night, 65-7. I made the case earlier tonight. Last night was a great night for Georgia. It was a terrible night for the game of college football. And if you want to hear those thoughts, be sure and go back to 1010XL.com and the on-demand page. We will be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and we will do it all over again. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday with us. We know you stay up late with us on Tuesday nights, and we certainly appreciate it right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Tuesday, and we will do it all over again on a Wednesday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Relive the moments that brought Jacksonville back to the postseason. It's 1010XL's Road to the Playoffs. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson and Bowden Eye and Associates. Listen each day this week on the air and online on the social channels of 1010XL.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. Well, it still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? Sure you do. You can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit. Wipe out all those credit cards now. Prosser here. Rates are down, and this is a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money. Pay off high-interest loans of any kind, credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. So call Loan Pronto now, 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Also go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Big Brothers Big Sisters has the perfect resolution for you. Sign up for the Little Big Run. A little run for a big cause. Saturday, January 28th at South Bank Riverwalk. Online, find Big Brothers Big Sisters Northeast Florida and click events.
Hey, Hickett here. The Borland Groover Foundation proudly presents the annual March to Get Screened 5